Report. Now, joining us to further this conversation is Public Affairs Analyst and the Executive Director, Lead Network Africa, Chukwuma Okenwa. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning.
Right. You've seen the report by our correspondent, Chinwe Ugele, talking about the various checkpoints in the southeast. Unfortunately, we still have reports of insecurity, but we'd like to ask if that's your experience as regarding the very many checkpoints we're starting to see. And what would you say this is as a result of? Is it because of the year is coming to an end, or the government suddenly has seen the need to beef up security in the southeast due to insecurity concerns?
Well, it's been like a culture, a custom that when you're traveling across the country, once you are getting near to the southeast region and traveling within the southeast region, you begin to have like tons of security checkpoints, and one would wonder what's really the essence if we have like a kind of security in a certain region, which ab initio has been, had been the most peaceful region in Nigeria, and all of a sudden we began to have, like some kind of challenges, which arguably may also have like some political undertones. And then we now see, yes, we know that perhaps, some persons would wish that we have a southern narrative of what's happening in the northeast, so that southeast and northeast is burning. But we don't also see the same kindness replicated in northeast, where it's even needed more. So let's now talk about like, okay, fine, is it really like essential? Is it really something that is commendable? You want to make like a short journey that perhaps in 1 hour you can cover that. You are going to devote like another 1 hour to security checks, and then, of course, we also know that in Southeast, most of the highways, the federal roads are also in terrible shape. So you talk about like spending much more time on the road, being frustrated due to bad road, due to security oppression and intimidation. So I really think that the security agencies should be able to review this and find out, is this still meeting its very purpose? Since if you are targeting a few who allegedly are responsible for the insecurity, wouldn't those few have mastered the time you come out to the checkpoints? How many persons have you apprehended since the checkpoint started and all the rest of it? These are things that should be reviewed to find out if in the course of chasing the few who are the bad eggs, you are not making things difficult for the generality of Nigerians living in this region.
Yeah, well, I think, that's the core challenge here, how uncomfortable and dehumanizing it is for people living in the Southeast, and that's the way that it's been described. But, also shed some light on what the actual security situation is like in the Southeast. Are there still fears of, danger, attacks by the IPOB or any of the, other armed groups? Do those things still exist at all? And of course, the different, reports of kidnapping that we used to hear from Enugu State a while ago.
Of course, I'm sure like we all follow the news as regards to issues of the kidnapping, where even some people from a certain region of this country are responsible for that kidnappings, and nothing was done about that. And beyond that also, we know the incidences of, people losing their farms, the hard-earned resources, people being attacked on farms, women being kidnapped and raped. It's also caused by non-Igbos, people that are not even from the region. Yes, we have like a few bad collaborators. But I really think that, addressing the challenge of the Southeast security question would be like taking a holistic view on what are really the key causes, rather than like a situation of trying to give a dog a bad name just to kill it. Just like we know in the just concluded election, where you have like Imo, Kogi, and Bayelsa, particularly for the Southeast, the military came up with an operation, of self-conduct, Operation Self-Conduct. And I was wondering why something similar was not replicated for Bayelsa and even Kogi, where it is needed most, judging from previous elections.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is, I understand they're giving a dog a bad name, to kill it, or to hang it. But are there still constant reports of kidnapping, and of course, people being killed, being attacked by, in quote, unknown gunmen in the southeast?
Let me say, in fact, one of the happiness we currently enjoy in the southeast is the very fact that that phrase unknown gunmen no longer exists. And I can tell you, I think Nigerians didn't call them unknown gunmen. It was the media. And I think particularly was inspired, by what is called, known in the security parlance as PsyOps, psychological operations, where you create a strategy, to achieve an aim. But at the moment, I can assure you that we feel very much safer in the southeast, like never before, right? Things are relatively better, and a few cases also is ones that when people are reported, like I have a friend that have a farm, incidences of attacks on farm, allowing cows to eat up the things, he's produced. You report to the security agencies. Nothing is done about that, right? A few times also you could have some people trapped, they are kidnapped, and when you engage in conversations, trying to secure release of those persons, you can perceive from the accent that they are certainly not from the region. But what I could say is that the security challenge that still exists at the moment as the Southeast is largely caused by people who are not from the Southeast region. So we still have some security challenges, but of course I must say that it is neither IPOP nor the so-called unknown gunmen.
All right, very valid points you've raised there. And seeing as, just to quickly mention, there's no more sit-at-home order, right?
Yes, at the moment.
Oh, great.
I mean, on Mondays, people are free to go about, but it's also fair to say that, in cities like Enugu, right, and some parts of Abia, you won't have as much as vehicular movements and people turn out, especially from the private sector, restarting of maybe especially private schools, right? Because of the parents' concerns, yes. Government schools also, many of them have started going, but of course, just largely in the rural areas. Because in the urban areas, parents are hesitant of sending their kids back to school.
Right. Okay, now that we know, from what you're saying, that a lot of the security concerns are not from people who are within the Southeast, but from external forces. And like you said, they're not also from the IPOP, but also external forces. What is the government doing to ensure that this dehumanization of the people living in the Southeast, comes to an end? If we're saying that it's not done by the people of the Southeast, how would we say the government is stepping up to ensure that we curb these challenges from these external forces?
Interestingly, I think we're beginning to see unusual collaboration between the Southeast governors when it comes to issues of security. I can confirm to you that within the last 6 months, at least we witnessed 2 security summits, and in one of them that was held, particularly a security strategy section with all the security key leadership in the Southeast. We also have the chief executives of all the different states, for the very first time coming together, not delegating a deputy governor or another high government official, to discuss issues of security and the need for collaboration amongst themselves. Because the very interesting thing is that we know that, how these things work is if you drive a criminal or a bad element from one region, from one state, the likelihood that the person is going to move into the neighboring state is very high. And so such collaboration is expected and commendable. And I think with the level of peace we enjoy so far, aside from how the Imo State election turned out, which of course we know there is always violence associated with Nigerian election, but I would say that such level of collaboration is already yielding a massive result in the region. It's fast returning to what we used to know Enugu for, and the region, a region where you can move about at any time. In the night, you are peaceful. Nobody's afraid of anyone. And Utah sitting it's coming up people are happy to come back home, right? It's no longer a situation where somebody calls in from America and it's like, oh, you don't need to come back. We don't think you are safe. And I don't really think that is like what Igbos we're really known for, right?
Yeah, but I mean, yes, that's not what they're known for. But I just wanted to be clear. We do not know that these persons aren't from the Southeast. These are from your views or your claims. It's not clear where these people are from. It's left for the government and security agencies to be able to tackle these issues, and maybe also shed some light on where these criminal elements might be from. Just wanted to fix that because it seemed like we made that insinuation earlier. But I want you to speak a little bit more on Southeast representatives, because if the people of the Southeast say that these police checkpoints, these army checkpoints are dehumanizing, they have representatives in the National Assembly, they have representatives in their state House of Assembly, they have governors, they have local government chairmen. So is there any effort from any of these persons who claim to represent people of the Southeast to speak to the Nigerian government to say, these checkpoints, cannot continue like this. We cannot continue having our people raise their hands and walk past checkpoints like they're all criminals. Is there anybody from the Southeast who is making, those type of arguments to, of course, the federal government?
Unfortunately, like we know that not just in the Southeast, but does appear across Nigeria, there is that wide gap between the people and their representatives. For instance, we know that even before the issue of the sit at home and the need for government to review other options was even raised up in the last assembly, it took over 1 year that it became really a challenge, right? And sometimes when you have like representatives who rarely come back, who rarely sit at their constituency offices, who rarely even listen and engage with the people in town hall meetings, and only stay back in Abuja, maybe to check like who is passing one bill based on the interest of certain industries or like certain platforms that are abroad, maybe a bill on child right, a bill on this for business regulations. These are the kind of bills that maybe has to do with either external interests or that of Mr. President, maybe sponsoring an executive bill. But it's really like a well-known fact that what ordinarily should dominate the bill structure in the National Assembly, which should be like that of the constituency, is largely feuded, right? In the National Assembly. And it's a concern, and this should also be like a call to the representatives in the Southeast to really engage. Come back home, because when you come back home and also fortunately drive through, you will also appreciate. But when you always fly through, maybe even when you come in, fly from Abuja to the airport and then just a short distance to your hotel, and then people come to the hotel to meet you instead of the constituency office, you will not really be able to feel what the people are feeling. And if you can't feel it, then of course you cannot speak about it.
Okay, I also want you to expand a little bit on the state government level, on the local government level. In what ways can security be better carried out? There's the Ibubeagu that people can say has really not been successful or has not been a good plan. But besides that, what would your advice be to governors of the Southeast, local government chairmen, and state houses of assembly, if they want to carry out effective security approach, across the Southeast to completely end the kidnapping, completely end, the bits and pieces of violence here and there, armed robbery and the likes? What would you advise that they maybe try to do? I've heard about this forest in Ogu, in Enugu State, that has been the haven for kidnappers for a while. I don't know if it's still the same thing, but in what ways can they do better?
Two things. Number one, all stakeholders at all levels, whether you're talking about federal, state, and local government level, should work together to strengthen the Nigeria police force, equip the Nigeria police force more, incentivize them, fund them the more. It will interest us to know that, what we have is the Nigerian police force, not the federal police force. Oftentimes when people come up with the narrative that the federal government has its own police and states need to come up with its own, I'm wondering where they are actually coming up with that narrative, because it's entirely strange to the Nigeria Constitution. Interestingly also, the Constitution recognizes the President, the Vice President, the IG of Police, and the 36 governors as what constitute the Police Council. And it may interest you to know that for the past 3 years, it's only recent time that President Tinubu actually saw the need for them to hold again and meet to discuss. What is the Police Council charged with? Of course, to decide about the administration and the organization of the police force. But then, unfortunately, many governors may go there. They won't even address the issue of how can the Constitution recognize me as the Chief Security Officer of my state, and at the same time, the Commissioner of Police would need to confirm or validate whatever instruction I give him from the IGP before executing that, right? I mean, law is all about being assertive. If the law says you are the Chief Security Officer of your state and calls the #1 police officer in your state a commissioner, not an IG, you have other commissioners. The person should be able to work with you to deliver security at that level. Because the only territory that is owned by the federal government is the Federal Capital Territory. So how does it make sense that you and your state, you are managing things, and then before anything is done on your behalf in terms of securing your state, you are ratifying from, if you don't call an IGP. And it's not even as if to say the Constitution puts it expressly that way. The Constitution uses the word may, that the Commissioner of Police may ratify, may need to ratify, an instruction, so it somehow puts it that maybe the IGP could be like a last option or the second last option, because many of it also could still need to be validated by Mr. President. So I think we have an issue with that, and we need to ratify that, make Nigeria police truly Nigerian. And then the second one will now be community policing. When you have a situation where you want to police a country, and you don't get the citizens involved, massively involved, both in terms of sharing intelligence, collaborating with the police, understanding that security is everybody's business. Because when you create this issue of trying to present yourself, maybe because you're a security agent, you want to assure yourself that you are Mr. Know-it-all, maybe you are mysterious, you can just get information. I mean, getting intelligence is as simple as gathering it. And the easiest way you can gather it is work with those communities. Like you just referenced a bush in Ogo. Who told us that maybe some people who are indigenous in that community are not aware, of the exact terrain of that particular bush? Who also told us that that particular bush is not someone's ancestral lands, and that if need be, and with proper collaboration, all of the raids, all of the holes and everything that is there, could be raided with proper collaboration, because the security forces not understanding the terrain could also have some concerns just raiding the place. Security people are also humans. And because you are humans, you are limited. And because you are limited, you need collaboration of all stakeholders. And I love it when police force teach Nigerians, if you see something, you say something. That's how security works, work anywhere and world over. If you get intelligence with intelligence, you don't even need to get into the bush to catch those people. Because when they make the money in the bush, they come out of the cities, lodge in big hotels, enjoy. Go grab them there in the hotel where they're having good time.
All right. I think on a final note, my question would be that what is the next step? If people are complaining that they're made to walk from checkpoint to checkpoint with their hands in a way that makes them feel less than human, they're complaining about how it's wasting their time, they're complaining about the fact that there are old people that even have arthritis and have to do these walks, and it's repeated over and over again. The end of, we're coming to the end of the year. Is there a possibility that this will change? What are the next steps? Or should people just go with the flow that this is what it is and it's come to stay?
Well, I think the next step is for stakeholders to come together with a communique, calling on the House of Representative members to weigh in on the matter, and also on the governors to speak with one voice. I am sure that if the Southeast governors come together and meet with Mr. President for a dialogue, to look for alternative ways, of addressing the particular issues of the security concerns without hampering on the most basic thing, which is human rights. Because when you impede on people's rights to move freely, You won't tell me that whenever you're undermining my human right, you are doing that for my good, even if you say you put on quote unquote, you're trying to secure me. So we know that human rights is the basic fundamental security, dignity, responsibility that everyone owe me as a citizen first and foremost, and every other thing is interlinked with it.
All right, Chukwuma Okenwa, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. We want a peaceful Southeast and a peaceful Nigeria in general. We'd like to speak with you again pretty soon.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.